Every morning, Daniel Carter woke up before the city at 4:45 a.m. Not because he enjoyed it, because survival demanded it. The alarm clock buzzed softly on the cracked wooden table. He reached for it with stiff fingers and turned it off. For a few seconds, he stayed still, listening to his breathing, feeling the dull pain in his back, remembering that rest was a luxury he no longer owned. Slowly, he sat up. "Another day," he whispered. His voice sounded older than his age. The apartment was small and quiet. One narrow bed, one worn sofa, a kitchen barely large enough for one person. On the wall hung a faded photograph. A younger Daniel, smiling proudly. Beside him stood a small boy in a school uniform. Ethan. His reason. Daniel touched the frame gently every morning. "For you," he said. Then he turned away. By 5:30 a.m., he walked toward Jefferson High School. Cold air cut through his jacket. Streetlights flickered above empty roads. His gray uniform was clean but faded. The word janitor was stitched on his chest. To Daniel, it meant responsibility. To others, it meant nothing. Inside the building, silence ruled. Long hallways, locked classrooms, echoing footsteps. Daniel unlocked the main door and entered. Click. Another invisible day began. He pushed his cleaning cart forward. Mop, buckets, detergent, tools of a quiet warrior. He cleaned every corner carefully. Because mistakes were noticed, effort never was. At 7:00 a.m., students arrived. Laughter filled the halls. Music leaked from headphones. Life returned. Daniel stepped aside, pressing himself against the wall. Some passed without looking. Others laughed. "Hey, mop guy," one boy shouted. "Nice career," another added. More laughter. Daniel lowered his eyes. Silence was his shield. By noon, he sat alone in the maintenance room. Peeling paint. Broken chair. Small table. He opened his lunchbox. 2 slices of bread. 1 boiled egg. 1 apple. Enough to survive. Not enough to dream. He checked his phone. No messages. He sighed quietly. Across the cafeteria, Ethan sat with friends. Confident. Popular. Smiling. Everything Daniel had worked for. Someone pointed toward the hallway. "Isn't that your dad?" a girl whispered. Ethan froze. For half a second. Then he laughed. "No, my dad works in an office." The lie slipped out easily. Too easily. His friends nodded and moved on. Daniel never heard it. But fate did. That evening, Daniel returned home exhausted. He showered in silence. Ate dinner alone. Sat at the small table. He opened his old notebook. Inside were sketches of buildings. Dreams he had buried. Dreams he had given to his son. He wrote one line. "One day, Ethan will build what I never could." Then he closed the book and went to sleep, unaware that soon, this invisible man would become the school's only hope. The next morning, Daniel arrived earlier than usual. 4:20 a.m. The sky was still dark. The streets were silent. Something inside him felt restless. He did not know why. He only knew he could not sleep. Inside Jefferson High, the air felt heavy. Too quiet. Too still. Daniel switched on the hallway lights. One by one, they flickered to life. Buzz, click, buzz. He pushed his cart forward. But halfway down the main corridor, he stopped. Water. A thin stream was running across the floor. Drip, drip, drip. His eyes followed it upward. The ceiling tile was dark and swollen. A pipe was leaking. Slowly. Dangerously. Daniel frowned. He climbed onto a small ladder and pressed the tile gently. Water spilled onto his hand. Cold. Not good, he muttered. If the pipe burst, the entire electrical system could fail. Fire hazard. Short circuit. Chaos. He hurried to the maintenance office and called the district hotline. No answer. He left a message. Then another. No response. By 6:30 a.m., the leak had grown worse. Water pooled on the floor. Daniel placed warning signs. Mopped continuously. Changed buckets. Again. And again. And again. His back burned. His hands trembled. But he did not stop. Because no one else would. Students arrived. They walked around the wet area, annoyed. Why is it always dirty here? Someone complained. This school sucks, another said. Daniel pretended not to hear. But each word landed like a stone. During second period, Ethan walked past the corridor. He saw his father kneeling on the floor. Soaked uniform. Sweaty face. Tired eyes. For a moment, Ethan slowed down. Their eyes almost met. Almost. Then his friends appeared. Bro, hurry up, one said. Ethan looked away and kept walking. Daniel noticed. He always noticed. At 10:45 a.m., the ceiling groaned. A low, dangerous sound. Crack. Daniel froze. He looked up. The tile bulged like a balloon. Everyone out, he shouted suddenly. Students stared at him. Confused. Some laughed. What's his problem? One girl whispered. Then, crash. Water exploded from the ceiling. A pipe burst, flooding the hallway. Screams filled the air. Students ran. Teachers shouted. Panic spread. Electric wires sparked. Blue flashes jumped along the wall. A fire alarm began to scream. Wee-oh-oh, wee-oh-oh. Smoke rose from a damaged panel. Fire. Real fire. Daniel did not run. He grabbed a fire extinguisher. Pulled the pin. Aimed. Sprayed. White foam covered the flames. Coughing, choking, half-blind. He kept going. Until the fire died. When security arrived, Daniel sat on the floor. Soaked. Shaking. Exhausted. No one thanked him. Instead, a supervisor shouted, "Why didn't you report this earlier?" Daniel stared at the ground. "I did," he whispered. No one listened. Across the hall, Ethan watched everything. His friends whispered, "Dude, your dad saved us." Ethan said nothing. For the first time in years, he felt ashamed. That night, news spread. A janitor stopped a fire. But no name was mentioned. No photo. No praise. Just silence. And in that silence, Daniel went home alone, wondering if his life had ever mattered. Burned wires. Wet walls. Something broken in the air. Daniel walked in quietly, as always. No applause. No ceremony. No recognition. Just another shift. The damaged ceiling had been sealed overnight. A temporary fix. Like most things in his life. Temporary. Fragile. Students gathered in small groups, whispering. Did you see the fire? He almost got electrocuted. That janitor guy is crazy brave. Daniel passed by. No one spoke to him directly. Praise traveled in circles. It never reached him. In third period, the principal entered Ethan's classroom. Her heels clicked sharply against the floor. Yesterday, she began, we avoided a serious tragedy. The room went silent. A member of our staff acted quickly and prevented what could have been a disaster. Students exchanged glances. Some looked at Ethan. The principal continued. Mr. Carter showed courage and responsibility. The name hung in the air. Heavy, unavoidable. Ethan felt heat rise to his face. A boy behind him whispered, "Yo, that's your dad, right?" This time, Ethan didn't answer immediately. Seconds passed. Too many seconds. "Yes," he said quietly. No laughter followed. Only silence. And something new. Respect. After school, Ethan walked slowly toward the maintenance room. His heart pounded harder with every step. The door was half open. Inside, Daniel was repairing a broken shelf. Focused. Careful. Alone. Dad. The word felt unfamiliar in Ethan's mouth. Daniel turned. Surprised. "You're still here?" he asked gently. Ethan stepped inside. For the first time, he noticed the details. The cracked walls. The old tools. The chair barely holding together. "You could have gotten hurt," Ethan said. Daniel smiled faintly. "That's part of the job." "No, it's not," Ethan replied. His voice trembled. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Ethan said it. "I told people you worked in an office." The confession dropped between them. Sharp. Honest. Daniel's hands froze. Just for a second. Then he nodded slowly. "I know." Ethan looked up, shocked. "You knew." Daniel gave a tired smile. "When you're invisible long enough, you learn to see everything." Silence filled the room. Not angry. Not loud. Just heavy. "I'm sorry," Ethan whispered. Daniel studied his son's face. He saw guilt. Shame. Growth. "It's okay," he said softly. "No," Ethan replied. "It's not." Outside, the late afternoon sun filtered through the hallway windows. Warm light. New feeling. For the first time, Ethan walked beside his father openly. Not ahead. Not behind. Beside. A few students stared. Ethan didn't look away. He didn't rush. He didn't hide. And Daniel noticed. He always noticed. That evening, Daniel opened his old notebook again. He looked at the sketches. The buildings he never built. Then he added a new line beneath yesterday's sentence. "Today, my son stood next to me." His hands trembled slightly. Not from exhaustion. From hope. But neither of them knew. The real test was still coming. And this time, it wouldn't be water. Or fire. It would be pride. 2 weeks passed after the fire. Life at Jefferson High slowly returned to normal. Classes continued. Exams approached. Students worried about grades again. But something had changed. Daniel was no longer just the janitor. Whispers followed him. Not mocking. Curious. Respectful. Sometimes even grateful. It felt strange. Almost uncomfortable. Ethan noticed it first. Students nodded at his father now. Some smiled. A few even said, "Thank you, sir." Daniel always replied the same way. "It's my job." Nothing more. Nothing less. One afternoon, a rumor spread. Quiet at first. Then loud. The school board was coming. An inspection. A serious one. Funding depended on it. If the school failed, programs would close. Teachers would leave. Students would suffer. Pressure filled the building. The principal called an emergency meeting. Teachers, staff, maintenance. Daniel sat in the back. As usual. "We need everything perfect," she said firmly. Especially the old science wing. Everyone knew that place. Cracked walls. Weak wiring. Ancient pipes. A disaster waiting. But repairs cost money. Money they didn't have. After the meeting, Daniel walked to the science wing alone. He inspected every corner, every wire, every ceiling tile, every pipe. His face grew serious. This wasn't safe. Not even close. That night, he wrote a detailed report. Pages of risks, warnings, solutions. He submitted it to the administration and waited. Days passed. No response. The inspection date approached. Still nothing. Daniel went to the office. "Did you read my report?" he asked politely. The assistant avoided his eyes. "They said not to worry." Daniel frowned. "But it's dangerous." She shrugged. "They don't want problems before the inspection." Translation: hide it. Ignore it. Pray. At home, Daniel couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling, remembering sparks, water, fire. One mistake. That's all it took. 2 days before the inspection, Ethan found his father at the table. Papers spread everywhere. Diagrams. Notes. Warnings. "Dad, what's wrong?" Daniel hesitated, then told him everything. Ethan listened silently. "They're risking lives," Ethan said finally. "Yes," Daniel replied. "Then report them higher," Ethan said. Daniel shook his head. "I'm just a janitor." The words tasted bitter. Ethan clenched his fists. "No, you're the man who saved this school." The night before inspection, Daniel made a decision. A dangerous one. He returned to the science wing alone. With tools. With cables. With spare parts. He began fixing what he could. Unauthorized. Unpaid. Unprotected. All night he worked. Sweat soaked his uniform. Hands bled. Eyes burned. But he didn't stop. At 4:30 a.m. he finished. Exhausted. Satisfied. Hopeful. He never saw the security camera. Never knew someone was watching. Never guessed what accusation would come next. The next morning, 2 men waited outside the maintenance room. Security. And the principal. "Mr. Carter," she said coldly. "You're suspended." Daniel froze. For damaging school property. For trying to save it. Daniel sat alone in his apartment. The suspension letter lay on the table. White paper. Black words. Cold. Unfair. Unauthorized repairs. Violation of protocol. Immediate suspension. 30 years of loyalty. Reduced to 3 sentences. He stared at the wall. Not angry. Just tired. Tired of fighting quietly. Tired of being small. At school, rumors exploded. They fired him. He broke something. He was showing off. Half-truths. Poisonous. Ethan heard everything. And for the first time in his life, he didn't stay silent. He went to the principal's office. Uninvited. Unannounced. "My father didn't damage anything," Ethan said firmly. She looked surprised. "This is not your concern." "It is," he replied. "You ignored his report. He tried to fix your mistake." She frowned. "Do you have proof?" Ethan hesitated. Then remembered. The cameras. He rushed to the security office. Begged. Argued. Refused to leave. Finally, the guard sighed. 10 minutes. They watched the footage. Hour after hour. Daniel working. Repairing. Testing. Sweating. No destruction. Only devotion. The next morning, the inspection began. Officials walked through the science wing. checking wires, testing systems. One of them stopped. "Who repaired this?" he asked. The principal hesitated. No answer came. Ethan stood up. "My father did." Silence. "He did it because it was dangerous," Ethan continued. "Because nobody else cared." The inspector nodded slowly. "This saved lives," he said. The truth spread quickly. Administration meetings. Urgent calls. Panicked apologies. By afternoon, Daniel received a call. "Please come to school," the principal said quietly. In the auditorium, staff and students gathered. Daniel stood on stage. Nervous. Confused. The principal cleared her throat. "We made a mistake," she said. "Mr. Carter showed courage when we showed fear." She handed him a certificate. A promotion. Head of facilities. Full benefits. Applause erupted. Thunderous. Endless. Daniel's hands trembled. Not from weakness. From disbelief. In the crowd, Ethan was crying. Not from sadness. From pride. After the ceremony, Daniel and Ethan walked home together. Side by side. "You were brave," Daniel said. "So were you," Ethan replied. They smiled. Not because life was perfect. Because it was honest. That night, Daniel opened his notebook one last time. He looked at the old sketches, then turned the page, and wrote, "I didn't build towers. I built a son who stands tall." He closed the book, finally at peace.